Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mindshifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Rice, and his wife, Jeannie. Michael and Jeannie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rakhma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeannie Rice.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to Mindshifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Rice. Today is our Memorial Day celebration, 297. Michael will talk a little more about that here in a few minutes. Our somebody in the chat room just said, "Can I ask a quick question?" Yes, please do. And our calling number is 646-200-4169. Press 1. That'll put you in queue to talk to Michael. And we are in Tampa, Florida. We have Healing Through Relationships tonight, Codependence tomorrow night, Naturopathic Keys to Health Friday night. All of those at Unity North Tampa. We had an awesome group last night. So come and join us. Hello, Michael. Michael?
Hi, sweetie.
Hey.
Welcome to the show, everybody. We're honored and delighted to be here on your support team and helping us to learn and to teach the ancient Aramaic process of forgiveness. We have a shock for most people when we explain what the word forgiveness actually means, because most of our culture has been taught a total fraud. And the fraud is that you caused something to happen inside of me. You made me angry, you made me sad, you made me afraid. And when I engage in that fraud, when I say those words, I instruct my mind in a process called denial. And my denial leads to me dissociating and now being unable to change that part of my mind. And I'll offer that is precisely what leads to war. We're here to put an end to the process. We're here to create a world of people who live as the awesome human beings that they are. And we define a human being very, very simply. Hold a newborn child. You know exactly what a human being is. And so that awesome active presence of love is who we are. And when we're not experiencing that, it's because we play this game of somebody else did something, if I could just change them. So we're going to invite you to be part of the team that changed the world, to put an end to war on planet Earth today. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to invite you to take responsibility today for just one thing, one small irritation, one upset that you perhaps have been putting into your file on someone else. You've been blaming somebody else for it. And we're going to invite you to enter into the process of forgiveness. If you don't know how to do that, and the culture hasn't taught the tool for almost 2,000 years, it was disappeared. We had an idea of pardoning substituted for forgiveness. I let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. It does nothing to change what's happening inside of me. If you want to know how to collapse the game of projecting what's going on inside of you, blaming everybody else for it, and cracking open your own dissociated state, the tool of forgiveness is available on our website. It's free. Go download it and put it to work. If you go to whyagain.com, that's whyagain.com, on the right-hand side you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. And that link will take you to actually 100 different links. But the first the first 7 are directly related to the forgiveness process. It'll give you a copy of my chapter 24 of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again?, which describes the why, what, and how of forgiveness. It'll give you a copy. The second link is the actual worksheet, the how to forgive. The third, fourth, fifth, and sixth links are radio shows. And those radio shows are shows that you can just right-click on the link, say save to target, save it on your computer, and then, put it somewhere where you'll know where it is, and then just click on it, and you can listen to us walk somebody through the whole forgiveness process. So it used to be when we didn't have this technology available that people had the excuse, well, I don't know how to do it. Well, you can't say you don't know how to do it anymore because the customer instructions are there. There are 4 totally, completely different worksheets, totally different styles of issues that people have in those 4 different worksheets, and it'll just walk you through the whole process. So please go to the website, download the worksheet, put the pen to the paper, begin to do it. Jeannie, do we have Dr. Tim? Do we have David with us today? And are there any questions in the chat room, or is there anything happening on the phone? Any callers?
Well, I just told Louise to go ahead and ask her question in the chat room. She said she's actually in Clearwater, which is 20 minutes from Tampa. She couldn't believe that we're that close to her. Told her we were trying to get into Unity of Clearwater, but it hadn't worked out so far. And so she's going to try to make it, but I told her to go ahead and ask her question. We do have a caller, but Dr. Tim and David are both on.
Well, let's welcome Dr. Tim and David. How are you gentlemen today?
Doing beautifully, thank you. It's a gorgeous day. It's completely unseasonably warm here in Illinois. We're setting records for heat today. Sunny and bright.
Awesome. Anything exciting to report?
Well, we had a wonderful group last night. We listened to Lesson 3 from Way of Mastery as a follow-up to your Why Is This Happening to Me Again lecture. That one is titled The Power of Forgiveness. And it's, as you've mentioned, there's only 2 places where you've seen your definition of forgiveness, the one you came up with through the Khabar's manuscript. That was the Khabar's manuscript and A Course in Miracles. And the Way of Mastery, Chapter 3, is very, very similar to it. So we played that and got a lot of good responses from people, very deep. It's a very kind of poetic, loving presentation. And as Dale Hoffman was saying last Friday, J.M. has a very loving, gentle style. And so it was very well received and led to some fabulous insights for people and talks about the worksheet. And it was just a wonderful group.
Fabulous, fabulous. And David, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Michael. The almost a 180 of the weather here. It's been raining. It started raining last night around 7 o'clock, and it's still raining. So it's much needed rain that we needed, and it's starting to lighten up a little bit. So it's overcast and wet.
Well, we've got nice white puffy clouds and a sunny 83 degrees here in Tampa, Florida. So, Jeannie, let's invite our caller in.
Okay. It is area code 517. You're on the air.
Hi, Michael. It's Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I guess I'm calling today as a follow-up to yesterday's radio show about doing a worksheet on commitment. I found that listening to other people do worksheets, just like you were saying, is really helpful. And so I thought to myself, I could stand to do a worksheet on commitment, and I thought maybe I could use your assistance and we could do the worksheet together here on the radio show. And one of the things that's been coming up for me actually today that I'm noticing is I'm able to keep a commitment when somebody else is holding me accountable, but when it's on my own, it's very difficult when I don't have somebody outside of myself holding me accountable. It's like Rex called and asked about us doing 5 worksheets a day, and I've been holding to that commitment since he asked if I'd like to make that commitment, but I had in the past made that commitment to myself, and eventually I let go of the commitment. So I guess I'm just asking if we could go through a worksheet together and have your assistance with it.
Cool. Yeah, let's go for it. What would you use as a subject of the worksheet? Yourself or commitment, or what would it be? A worksheet on you? And number one.
I guess it would be myself.
Okay, so let's start out number 1A. You put yourself in there, and so the situation would be, I don't keep my commitments unless someone else is holding me accountable.
Okay. I don't keep my commitments unless somebody else is helping me stay accountable.
Or would it maybe be more of a situation of, I don't deserve to keep commitments to myself? There could be several shades of meaning there. I'm just searching for exactly what fits.
I don't know if maybe it's I guess there could be a bit of a feeling of not deserving it. It's like when somebody else is holding me accountable, it seems more important, maybe. Something like that. It feels like there's some value to it when somebody else is holding me accountable, as opposed to I have a hard time creating the value for myself, maybe.
Okay. So would it be a case of I tend to be outer directed rather than inner directed?
Okay.
Would that be it?
Outer directed.
That oftentimes comes from an upbringing where we've been taught that we have to obey the authority, and the authority's in control. And when the authority creates the stress or the authority enforces the stress, then I act. Otherwise, I don't act.
Yeah, bingo. That's it. That really resonates.
So maybe the place to go, the sense I get is that maybe the place to go with it would be, I tend to be outer directed rather than inner directed. Does that fit? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't you make that number 1B then? That's the situation.
I tend to be outer directed instead of inner directed. Okay.
What's your feeling? When you think about that, the situation of being outer directed, what feeling does that resonate in you? Remembering that, that feelings are always shadows of thoughts, that when you think a thought, we were given this gift by the Creator, and that is that, first of all, we were given the gift of the ability to create with our thoughts. If you think a thought, you just set up the energy that creates what even physics is calling the observer effect. And the observer effect is that I contribute an energy to an energetic wave of the world that causes that wave to collapse and produce an expression, to produce a manifestation. And so the Creator gave us this second gift, and that was a warning signal when our creative process is off base. So if I engage in a thought and my feeling as a result of that thought, and feelings are always directly caused by thoughts, even if those thoughts are unconscious. And a lot of people who don't want to go there are in denial. They don't want to be in touch with the thoughts that are beneath their feelings. Let me pretend that they're not even there. That's part of the denial system. So this warning signal was given to us to tell us when our creative process is off base. So anytime we're in pain, turmoil, hostility, or fear, there's always a thought behind that, and that feeling is just warning us. It's like a red flag going. I'm saying, hey, you don't want to be creating out of this one. Change your mind.
Well, the feeling. Oh, sorry. I guess the feeling that I have is anxiety. But when you ask that question, also, I guess there was a feeling of loss of control, but maybe that's more the thought than the feeling.
The loss of control would be a thought. Anxiety would be a feeling.
Okay.
So I'd say anxiety.
Yep.
And then the thought that causes the anxiety is I'm not in control. So that would be number 1D.
I'm not in control.
And or might it be kind of a flip of that of if I tend to be outer directed, it's usually because my training has been the authority is the one who frames my goals and I'm forced to set them and carry forward with them. So the thought might even be more of I'm being controlled.
Yeah.
So the anxiety might tend to be the flip of that, and that is, I'm being controlled. I've always been controlled, and when somebody's controlling me, I go into anxiety.
Yep. I'm being controlled. Yeah, I can see that.
Jeannie, could you take over for a second, and I'll be right back?
Sure. I apologize. I was answering someone else in the chat room there. So you're on which step there, Tony?
The step number, or the letter D, the thought that I use to cause my feeling of anxiety is I feel like I'm being controlled.
Okay, so your thought is being controlled. All right. And I'm opening up a worksheet, so I've got it here in front of me, too. I'm switching gears here. I was answering a question about purpose. All right, so then the next one is your punishment thought. So what's your punishment thought to them and to yourself?
To do it half-assed.
Okay, so doing it half-assed is your punishment to both or to just them?
To them.
Yeah. And it could be to you, too, because, when you only do something halfway, you're also kind of putting yourself down, too. You're not, it's like almost an acknowledgement of, I'm not going to do this fully or accurately. So in a way, that's also punishment to yourself. But
yeah,
when you think,
I guess it feels like for myself it's not doing enough.
Right. Okay. So fill those in.
Yeah.
All right. And then I choose to love truth. That's something that we were talking about with, we had met with some friends over lunch, and we were talking about truth. And what happens is when we have an idea in our own mind, and it's our truth, but it may not be the truth, and it's like we don't want to let it go, because once we know the truth, you can't go back. And it's like the example that we were given was, in war, and saying, it's okay for us to go and kill this person. But once you see the truth that we are all connected, we're all one, and it's not okay to kill another cell in your own body, then if you acknowledge that as the truth, you can't go back to believing your truth. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So in every situation, we have to choose to love truth. We have to be willing to look at the whole picture that possibly will put doubt or question towards our own truth. And so it's, I choose to love truth and willingly say, that's in step number 2.
Mm-hmm. And willingly face and process out all disease-producing energies from all my relations.
Right, because a lot of things that we face are not just their own. It's like, just like, I have my dad's eyes and color of skin. I've got my mom's temperament. So we get more things generationally than just their looks. It's so even the things, the energies that have not been processed out by previous generations are now in our lap for us to process out. And if we don't do it, then the next generation gets to do it. It gets passed on. And so it's willing to face it and to process out all of these, even if it's from all your relations. And the Indians used to say that too, the Native Americans, that they knew that things were also from their relations or from their generation. So you check that off, that you're willing to do that you're willing to love truth, and you're willing to face all of these things as they move back out. Then the next statement is very important. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, I willingly go through the physical, mental, emotional symptoms of healing. Is that the one?
Right. Yep. Because what happens is energies go into our system. We're created as love. That's who we are. That's the stuff we're made of. So these other things like fear and anxiety and anger and frustration and all of these things don't belong in our system. And it actually becomes our physical disease. If we think an angry thought about another person or an anxious thought about, towards another person, then that becomes our physiology, and it becomes a disease in our body. And so it creates a symptom as it goes in. You have symptoms, whether it's of a cold or a flu or bronchitis or whatever. There are symptoms, and, the medical society here will want to treat the symptoms. They give you some kind of drug that suppresses the symptoms of your cold, or, makes you quit throwing up or quit having diarrhea, which is your body's way of throwing things off really fast. And so our so-called health system shuts those things down. But this is willing to go through it, because anytime you put an energy in and it creates a symptom, you can get it packed away where you don't have to look at it. But then as you're healing and you get more vital, then those symptoms have to come back out. And on the way out, it looks the same as it did on the way in. But healing is not always Dr. Feelgood. You might go through some of the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms that you went through when those energies were put into your system. And a lot of people aren't willing to go through that again. They'd rather just keep it packed down and not look at it, and which means it's going to degenerate. It's going to become a worse disease. And so it's being willing that as you love truth and you face and process out all the disease-producing energies from all your generations, knowing that you're going to also go through the symptoms of healing and being willing to do that. So those are two check-off boxes that a lot of people just kind of brush over real quick, but it's very important to be willing to do that as you go through that process. So are you willing to do that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So check those off.
Mm-hmm.
Then the constructive results that I want, my exact goal. So in this particular situation that you're writing about, what was the goal that you hold or held for whoever it was you listed in 1A? What did you want from them?
Well, it's for myself, and it has to do with I tend to outer direct instead of inner direct.
Okay.
And I want myself to keep I guess it's to trust myself and keeping, actually it's kind of a trusting myself and knowing what the best commitment is. It's kind of, I don't know.
Okay. All right, yeah. So write that in as number 3.
Trust myself and knowing what the best commitment is for myself.
Okay.
What the best commitment is for myself. Okay?
All right. So I choose love, which is my newborn state, which then stirs the love in everyone else that's involved. So you check that off, and that's where we've got the rose and the butterfly story listed there. And that's actually on our website if anybody wants to go and get it. It's under stories, quotes, and links. And so it's about a rose and a butterfly, and they meet and they fall in love and they have a wonderful time. And then one day the butterfly flies away, and because the rose thinks that the love of the butterfly is the most important thing in its life, it uproots itself to give chase. What's going to happen to the rose if it uproots?
Well, it'll die.
Okay, because it made something else more important than staying connected to its source. So anytime you put anything more important than staying connected to who you are, to your
to the love, the essence, the newborn state that you are. So anything that comes into your space that throws you into anxiety or fear or anger or whatever, then you have said that that is more important than staying connected to your being. And you've initiated your own death. It's a downward path from there. So that rose and butterfly story is just there to remind us, hey, I need to get back and get connected to who I am, because there's nothing, no situation worth giving my being up for, to give my life up for. So that's just kind of a reminder step in there to get reconnected. And then number 5, if you want to read it.
Yep. The phone's kind of going. It's hard for me to hear you. Can you hear me? Yep.
Yes, I can. Let me
That's
try to
better.
turn this up. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're at number 5. Are you there?
Yes, I was waiting for you to read it.
Oh, my reality made of a max of 9 bits of info out of 10,000 brain cells firing is a limited picture from my carbon-based memory, and a result of driven by my goal to trust myself in knowing what's the best commitment for myself. It's constructed out of corrupt data. By canceling my goal, my replicate mind's output collapses and gives me direct contact with the denied and dissociated part of my carbon-based memory, which projects and blames others for its content, hallucinating. I choose to collapse my mind's lies by canceling the goal driver for myself to trust myself in knowing what the best commitment is for myself.
Right. You copy exactly the goal that you wrote in number 3 down to number 5. And just while you're writing that down there, copying it down, I'll just give a little more explanation on that. They say that we're in a 20 trillion bit world and that there's like 10,000 brain cells fire at one time, but that there's only 9 bits maximum that actually gets into our conscious awareness. And it doesn't take a whole lot for, okay, I'm anxious and this isn't fair and I'm not doing this right. And, those kind of thoughts, it doesn't take very much until our mind is full. And when it's full, we can't see the real picture. It's like, I use the example, I was raised on a farm and we had horses and we would use them to plow fields and we put blinders on them to each side of their eyes so that all they could see is straight forward, and they would plow a straight line. They would follow command, and it was fine. If you didn't have blinders on it, they'd wander here and there, and you'd have a crooked road. And so it's sort of like hostility and fear are our blinders, and we can't see the whole picture. We can't see, there might be a solution right beside of us, and we can't see it because we have this blinder on, and all we can see is the issue that's right in front of us. And so canceling the goal helps clear that. It's like taking the blinders off so you can see everything around you, and you get a better picture. You can get a more sane way of finding a solution for the issue. Also use the example of a computer. If I'm working on a Word program, typing something, and Michael comes in and says, there's an error in the spreadsheet. I can't fix the error in the spreadsheet as long as the Word document's up on my screen. I have to collapse it, shrink it down, bring the spreadsheet up. Then I can work on the issue in the spreadsheet, fix the error. I can go back to my Word document when I'm finished, but until I get the Word document out of the way, I can't even begin to work on the error that's in the spreadsheet. So collapsing the goal, canceling the goal, a lot of people say, but this is a perfect goal, I deserve this. And you do. But you can also look at it this way. If we are creators and there's something out there that we are wanting, why haven't we created it? It's because there is a part of us that believes stronger, I don't deserve it or I can't have it. And that part's yelling louder than the part of us that says I can and I do. And so until we get that part out of the way, until we bring it forward, we collapse the reality in our mind and we bring that forward, then we can correct the error. Then we can go back to what we were really looking for and what we really wanted, and we have a better chance of creating what we really want then. So does that make a little sense of why you canceled the goal?
Yep.
Okay. So you cancel the goal, and that's just the first part. Again, with only 9 bits and 10,000 brain cells firing and 20 trillion bits in the world, we would never get to clear out all of their generational stuff at that rate because it's too big for us. But there is a power that has been put in us, and this is 5B on the worksheet, where we invite Rukadikucha. You can call it whatever you want to call it. It's been translated as the Holy Spirit. But it's a power like an elemental force, just like the wind, the water, the earth, fire. It's an elemental force, a spirit that has a power that's been put in humans to guide us and to help us clean up what doesn't belong. But it's not going to run us automatically. We're not puppets on a string. You have to invite it into activity. It's like turning on a super processor. The computer sits on the desk, but it doesn't do anything until you turn the processor on. And so we do our part, we cancel the goal, and then we invite Ruka to incline me toward healing. And check that off. I invite Ruka to and so do each step like that.
I invite Rukadikucha to incline me toward healing, restore me to my newborn state love, heal my denial and capacity to generate anxiety. Help me open a direct conscious relationship with and gently remove the dissociated and projected parts of my carbon-based memory.
Right. So do those two things. You cancel the goal, and then you invite Ruka to do all of that. Take a deep breath, and now how do you feel?
Easier.
Easier, okay. And there's no right or wrong answer about this. Sometimes, most of the time we'll feel a little better. We'll see the light at the end of the tunnel or something like that. But sometimes I've done worksheets and it actually digs in a little bit deeper, takes me to the next level, and I actually feel worse. So there's no right or wrong answer there. It's to be honest, and if you feel worse, then that's your next worksheet. So anyway, you feel a little easier. And about 1B, see that. So look back up in 1B, and what was it you wrote there?
I tend outer direct instead of inner direct.
Okay. So the first thing that popped out at me was that that's probably been going on. You probably do that often. Do you also know of anybody else in your family? Does like your mom or your dad do the same thing? Do you see that it's a repeat pattern? Or, you could see several things.
Yeah, I see. I guess the thought that came to me is I'm very inner. I feel like I'm introverted in nature, so there's a lot of introspection that I do. But
okay, we'll put that down there then.
Yeah. It feels like the introspection is a way for me to tune out or to hide from the outer world.
Right. Okay, well, that's a good thing to write down there. So I would write that in number 6, that I see that what I claim to be my introverted nature is my way of hiding from the world. And so then that also will lead you to another worksheet as well on why do I hide from the world? Why do I feel a need? So that would be like, if you did a new worksheet, so if you got another blank worksheet there, bring it out and put your name in as the object of attention, and what happened is I hide from the world. And then go from there, so that'll give you another worksheet there to work on.
Okay.
Okay. And then I asked to be shown how I have violated. Read number 3 one more time.
I asked to be shown how I have violated I have violated my goal to trust myself and knowing what the best commitment for myself is.
Right. So You violated it by not trusting yourself. So it's worksheets on building trust, on trusting your, you say you have an inward nature, but you're not following your inward guidance. So you're actually kind of, sounds like a house divided against itself there.
Yeah.
So, and we didn't do the little block up at the top. It's kind of backtracking up here, but the little block at the top that says draw your feelings, I release and surrender my story, my feelings, my thoughts, and my punishment to love. So you want to check that off. And did you do the level of your emotional upset at the beginning?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's also another step that sometimes can bring up, each thing that's on this worksheet. I know it's got a lot of writing. Someone said it actually looked like a tax form the other day because it had so much stuff on it. But each part of it is to bring up something else, to trigger another file in your mind or to show you another part. And so each of those little things that are written, like down in the column, I release my need to make up another story out of these brain cells and to hallucinate proof that I'm right and that my fear and hostility-based reality is true. So you want to go through and check all of those off as well and do that.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your emotional upset level at the beginning, looking at how you are anxious and everything?
Well, it was kind of a 10 because I'm calling into the radio show.
Okay. And so after doing the forgiveness worksheet then, you want to look at what's your level after you've kind of worked through it and got a little handle on it. So all of that's over there on the right to do that.
Yeah.
So the bottom little block of draw your feelings, I commit to having a human life, to living as love. To help achieve this, I do a mass canceling of all the times that I wanted, and it's what you wrote, number 3, to trust yourself, from someone else. So if you can think of other people that you wanted them to trust you and knowing that you knew what you were doing, you might want to put their initials, and then just come to a mass canceling of, you do it to yourself, but I'm sure there's been times when you felt other people didn't trust you and your abilities too. Is that true?
Yeah.
And so it just piles up on itself after a while.
Yeah.
To read number 7.
A principle of the universe is that by giving, I first get the original. I acknowledge us for choosing truth, perfect love. I choose to structure a truly loving goal based on number 3, toward you, and 1A, myself. Like I said, based on trusting myself and myself. So I offer to myself to trust in the love that's inside of me.
Awesome. Very good. And breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Tim, do you have anything to offer Tony?
Well, just the thought that more breathing, and one of the things that I like to do is spend a little bit more time on the release, and I like to say, when I've asked Ruka to help me, I repeat several times, I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my goal for anyone or anything else to be changed. And I ask for help in seeing the part of my mind that's actually causing the emotion that's at the top of the worksheet. And I spend a little bit more time in there, and I spend a little bit more time on the focusing on my conscious awareness of my source as love. So that rose in the butterfly story, I like to take a moment to see myself as that newborn child, to see myself smiling in my face, to feel that heart energy strengthening. And that's why in Dr. Rice's workshops, they end up doing the love exchange exercise and then suggesting you do that in the mirror several times a day, because the more you do it, the more easily it comes to you. You develop the habit of remembering that your source is that energy of love, and you can tap into that feeling more easily. And that, my conscious awareness focused on that energy of love in the presence of this unhappy, unpleasant, painful, angry emotion is the thing that changes that emotion, that transmutes it into a different kind of an energy. And as Michael's been quoting recently from Rumi, in the presence of love, all pain becomes medicine. So that would be my only input, that as you keep doing worksheets, spend a little bit more time on those 2 points, and the rest of it starts coming more easily because you get practiced on it, so you can still do the worksheet in about the same time frame and still spend a little bit more energy on those 2 spots.
Yeah, that's good input, because as you're saying that, I noticed that I do kind of go over number 4 pretty quick and don't really spend time there. So, and it's funny, my number 7 is actually my goal is to trust in the love in myself. So maybe that's my next worksheet.
Sounds like a good one.
Sounds like you got several of them coming up there and out of the same one. And that's what happens is, keep several worksheets there as you're doing each one. Other things will come to you like that, and go ahead and write it down, because an hour from now you'll go, what was it I just said on the radio show that would be another good worksheet? You won't remember it. So.
Well, thank you very much.
You are welcome. Anything else we can answer?
No, that's good. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the show, and I'll continue to listen.
Awesome.
Calling in.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. We don't have another caller. Our call-in number, though, is 646-200-4169. Press 1. That puts you in queue to talk. We did have a comment in the chat room, and actually the person that asked the question then left, and so I hope that she's still listening, or that she'll come back and pick up the archive. It's kind of comical. I have to smile, because the first thing I think of is when we're doing intensive, Michael wants to continue with a work, whatever he's working on, whatever subject. If somebody walks out of the room, he'll wait until they come back. And we even, it's been several months back that we were doing a workshop, and this lady actually asked a question, and as soon as she got the question out of her mouth, she left the room. It was like, wait a minute, you can't get an answer if you leave. But anyway, she was talking about the difference in, I told her she needed to work on the purpose on her.
You cut out, Jeannie. We lost Jeannie. All right. I don't know if I'm the only one on, if I'm still on, or if I'm the one that got cut out. But if you are listening, Jeannie, this is the Mind Shifters radio program, and the call-in number is 646-200-4169, and hopefully we didn't lose Jeannie and the switchboard. So we're waiting to see if Jeannie comes back on, and she can finish answering or asking the question that was asked by someone in the chat room. Hello, Jeannie.
Okay, I had to hang up and dial back in. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back.
Good. That was weird. Just disappeared. So we do have 2 callers on the phone. So I was just saying, the person in the chat room first, before I take the next caller, was saying that they had a vision board. And I said, well, that's different than following your purpose. And she wanted to know what the difference was. And I said, you can have a vision board can have like your dreams and your wishes and desires, and all of those things may be wonderful and good and positive, but they may not be in alignment with your purpose. And that positive thinking on the negative foundation would fall apart. And it's kind of like if I have a trash can in the kitchen and it needs to be dumped because it's smelly, I can go by every hour and spray air freshener on it and make it
presentable. But eventually I've got to dump the trash out of it. And so it's the same thing, if we have negative things held within us, fears, hostilities, griefs, pains, things that we haven't dealt with, we can be positive out of our mouth all we want, I want to be healthy, wealthy, wonderful, beautiful, wise, all this. But if there's something deep down underneath that's yelling stronger, saying, no, you can't have it and it's not going to work, that's where our creation comes from, because it has the most energy. And so the difference is you want to make sure that you're in alignment with your purpose and that you do your work to remove the negative foundation out from under it so that you can move forward in it. Do you have anything else to add to that for her? And then we'll move on to our caller.
Awesome. Isn't this lady an awesome teacher?
She is.
Thank
indeed.
you. Someone else in the chat room says, I've been having a lot of resistance to doing worksheets lately. I know it's Dr. Feelgood, but it would be nice to have a feel-good part of it some of the time. Do you have any advice?
No. Somebody who has resistance to doing worksheets? I've never seen that before. How amazing.
I think it's probably 99% of the people, right?
Well, let's define the resistor. Let's go back to the Aramaic language, and there's a lot there that has so much to teach us. And by the way, on Fridays, and I'm hoping it'll continue beyond the month of March, we've got Dale Allen Hoffman, who's becoming one of the world's foremost Aramicists, who's on the show with us doing Aramaic Fridays. So make sure to join us for Friday's show if you want to hear a conversation with the whole crew here and Dale Allen Hoffman. It's pretty awesome. But in the Aramaic language, the word Satan is not some dude with a red suit, a tail, and a pitchfork, as hallucinated by the Greeks and designed to keep us under control. The word Satan means the resistor, one who misleads. And so when I'm in denial, I dissociate. I hide a part of my mind. That part of my mind is the part that contains my pain. I don't want to go near that. So when somebody shows up or something shows up, such as a tool called forgiveness, that will resonate that dissociated part of your mind, you go into resistance. No, I don't want to do it. And everything starts to lock down and tighten up. If you imagined a piece of wire, if you look at a piece of wire, a very small piece of wire will carry a very low current. A larger piece of wire will carry a heavier current, larger, still larger, still larger. If you could imagine squeezing that large piece of wire until it's so shrunk down that it doesn't carry what it's designed to, that's resistance. And so when we lock our breath down and tighten up, we lock ourselves out of that part of our minds. And once we're in that state and truth presents itself, or a tool that we intuitively know is going to bring us to the truth, is going to show us that part of our mind that we've been hiding from ourselves, that we've denied and dissociated from, then our stress is going to go up. And the resistance is, I don't want to feel what's in this part of my mind. And most people have their stress attached to getting rid of whatever it is that is resonating or showing them their stress. So they have resistance to truth. They have resistance to the work that would show them the part of their minds that they've been hiding from themselves. And then their mind creates a whole story as to why they shouldn't do it. And the mind's got 1,000 stories in there to keep us in that state of resistance and to keep us from looking at what we need to look at. Most people are addicted to blockage of truth. That's how they manage their stress. If most of your life, and if you come from a bloodline of addicted people, addicted to blocking pain by blocking truth, then it's pretty natural you're going to go into resistance. But my experience has been that on the other side of each worksheet, I've got a whole other level of aliveness. I see a shift and a change. It's really fun to work with kids with this tool. There's a young couple who were at Heartland several years ago, and they actually took a year about. Each one of them did a 1-year program at Heartland. Mom or Dad did it the first year, and Mom did it the second year. And they had 3 or 4 kids, and they'd bring the kids, and they were working with the kids with the tools. They taught the worksheet process to the kids. And the young boy was, when we first met him, he would be labeled, in the school system today as every kind of behavior disorder and learning disabled, attention deficit disorder. I mean, he had it all. He was a pretty tough kid to keep up with. And his parents started doing worksheets with him. He was about 5 when we met him. And 2 years later, this is his second year, his mom is in the support team program at Heartland. She lived there for a year. And Dad had the kids at home and would come over, on the weekends or oftentimes during classes. And this one particular day, this little guy who's now 7, who's one of the most well-mannered, easiest to get along with, sweet kids you've ever seen, is over with his 2 sisters playing in the corner. We're in an intensive. And, nobody even notices or nobody realizes they're even listening. And one of the people in the back of the room in the intensive talks about how somebody really upset them. And this little guy who's now 7 all of a sudden perks up, and he's going to offer input to this person. And just out of the blue, without even realizing he's listening, this little guy pipes up and says, well, just this morning, my sister, she bringed up my upset. Of course, he's an Ozark kid. That's the language he uses. She bringed up my upset. And he was offering correction to this person who was in Blockage of Truth, saying somebody else made them angry. And here's this 7-year-old offering correction. And he pipes up and offers responsibility language. Well, just this morning, my sister, she bringed up my upset. And I was like shocked when this little guy spoke up. He's like 30 feet away from the rest of the class on the other side of the room, and you don't even know he's listening. And I said, well, what did you do then? He says, I just asked my mother for a worksheet. Kids get the relief of stress that the worksheet brings. Now, in the initial stages, if we're so overloaded with stress, we might not notice as we undo the first few buckets of it. But you'll notice as you continue with the process how little stress you have left as you forgive. So that would be my input on that process.
And I told him, too, he said that he's been doing them, but he's been doing them begrudgingly and hasn't been getting much relief. And I said, you're probably unconsciously avoiding something big, so willingness to keep going is going to be crucial at this point. And he said, fair enough. So, and we do have another caller.
Oh, cool. Let's listen to them.
970, you're on the air. 970.
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, Michael and Jeannie, it is Carrie in Colorado, and I have a question along the lines of what you've been talking about. It's really awesome just listening, Jeannie, to you working on the worksheet with that guy, and just talking about, where our resistances lie. I really enjoyed the DVD the other night, Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment, and of yours, Michael. And it's kind of helped me become aware of how what I would really like more than anything is to have all of everything I'm doing in my life be what I consider sort of my purpose or my life path. And right now I'm in a situation where I am working part-time at another job and then doing my own things during my free time. But I've had this sense of being tired a lot lately. And I know I've heard you talk about that a little bit. I did some worksheets on it last night and how I felt like, this additional work that I'm doing, it's making me tired because it's not really what I want to be doing. But then I did some worksheets delving into, my own fear of failure for my own purpose and my own feelings that it's okay to do that as my main path in life. So anyway, I guess I'd be curious as to your insights on expanding on that. I know I've heard you talk about tiredness and where that comes from lately, and I know it's my own blockage of truth. So I'm enjoying kind of delving into that, and I guess if there's any direction to continue.
Well, I think that one of the main keys there is simply the willingness to keep moving. You know, when you look at this healing process, it takes a lot of energy to take apart a dissociated structure that holds perhaps 100 generations of some form of hostility or fear and reassemble it in a healthy way. So, you know, when we talk in the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop about the symptoms of healing, the symptoms of healing are identical to the symptoms of disease, and in order to heal, you've got to undo what never belonged, and as you undo what never belonged, you're going to get to experience its symptoms. One of them is it takes a lot of energy, and so one of the symptoms of healing is low energy. That when I undo a major core issue, you know, I may be undoing energies that are locked into my pancreas, my adrenals, my lungs, my colon, and maybe some of the muscles in my legs. So if that happens to be where that particular information has been stored through that denial and dissociation, as I become willing to unwind that, when we, you know, the scientists, the physicists will tell us that energy is a wave spread out over space or it collapses into a particle. When I go into denial and dissociation, I take that energy that's passing through me that's just a waveform, and I lock down on it, I crunch down on it, and I compress it, and I lock it down into the cell. It's like a coil spring. And it takes energy to hold that, and then when I decide to let it go, it's going to come back up, and my structure has to process through it. So if it's pulling stuff out of my pancreas, my adrenals, my lungs, my colon, and my legs, then those places, one, oftentimes are going to physically hurt because I'm letting toxicity out of the cell that normally is kept in such a lockdown state that I don't feel its effects. So I'm going to feel its effects. And as my structure does the work it takes, you know, it's just like when you do house cleaning, you know, gee, once a year, what do we do in the spring? We tear the whole house apart and we clean it out. It takes a lot of energy, you know, 3 days. By the end of the day, I'm wiped when the house cleaning's done because I've put a lot of energy into that. And it's about the same thing when you're cleaning energetically what doesn't belong. And, of course, along with that, not only are there the physical symptoms, the low energy, and any physical symptom you've ever had, on a mental level, it's going to look like any kind of negative thought and confusion, which, again, you know, the brain takes about 10 times the oxygen nutrition as any other organ in the body. So when I'm starting to process some big stuff, my brain is moving big time. It's consuming a lot of sugar. It's consuming a lot of energy. And so, and as I detox those old energies and I'm learning something new, when those two things meet, the conflicting energy creates confusion. And then on an emotional level, it's any kind of negative feeling I've ever had. And depression, as I let those old depressed energies come forward, I'm going to tend to feel the effect of those energies as I process them. And the result is going to be the healing process, not Dr. Feelgood all the time.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Great. Yeah, that makes a lot. That makes total sense. And really, after I did worksheets last night, it's amazing how much better I felt this morning. And also just to remember to have compassion as that process is taking place and to allow for it too. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we're down to about 40 seconds or so we'll just put the invitation out for anyone who's in Tampa to come join us tonight at Unity North in Tampa here. Next weekend we're going to be in Sarasota doing a kind of a mini intensive of 3, and there's a fourth optional day mini intensive. It won't actually be a residential kind of thing, but we'll be doing it. It's in a home. And so if you're interested in that, you can check out the website and see what we're doing. And then we've got one space for one male participant in our second 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensive that will start on July the 14th. So come and join us and create the best year yet of your eternal life. Blessings.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Rice, and his wife Jeannie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeannie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.